Hello everyone. My name is Brian. You might know me as Farran on the forums. I am the product manager of LaunchBox, but as many of you have known in the past, I love creating themes, big box themes, LaunchBox themes, startup themes, and during the next few hours, we can hang out and we can talk all things themes. If you have any questions, this is the place to do so. And how's everybody in the chat doing? Francis, how are you doing? Pavel, hopefully I'm saying that right. Hopefully you're doing well today. Got lots of cool stuff that I want to cover today. So I do want to get into it, and I hope you guys in the chat can join me here. Matt, how you doing this week? Paydilis, hopefully I'm saying that right. Hopefully you're doing good. Peter, let's have some fun. Although before we get started with anything, I did want to wish Viking, for people that don't know, Viking has been around the community forever, and he's the guy that created the Silver Ring logos and all of his video sets, and of course more recently he created the colorful theme. He announced that he did get COVID and he was hospitalized from it, and he was out for about a month, but that he's recovering. So I wish you a safe recovery. He's back home apparently, so we all wish you well. And talking about COVID, I finally got my second shot this morning, so I might be feeling a little woozy this afternoon, but we will get through it. And you're welcome, Pavel. And Kays, hope you're doing well. It's always a good time when you get to push on the stream and start up the community theme creator. And yeah, so far I'm fine. And just the usual arm hurting. I keep hearing that it's like the next day where you're gonna feel really terrible. And if that's true, I got one of those days tomorrow coming up. Hey Josh. All right, what else can I talk about? Okay, so I did want to address one thing. I was trying really hard last week to figure out, and I had it in my mind that when you use a viewport or viewbox, that I could somehow attain being able to change the font dynamically to any size to fit the box, but at the same time be able to wrap the text around into multiple layers. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw that happen in a test like theme that I had. And so after the stream, and I couldn't figure it out. And so after the stream, I went and I found the test theme and I realized, hey, it's actually not possible. That's why I couldn't figure it out. I'm here sitting here thinking, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it. What I actually saw was the ability to set a defined text size within a view box. So it was this. I was trying to see if I can get this to wrap this game title, and you can see it's within a view box. And yeah, what I wanted, it doesn't exist, and that's why I couldn't accomplish it. Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny when I finally got around to seeing that. Hey Ray, hope you're doing good today. Can I indicate sites? I cannot. Unfortunately, I can't give out any websites. This is not the forum for that right now anyway. Right now we're talking about themes, but if you have any questions about how to build big box themes, I'm your man. Today I do want to cover a number of things that I don't think I've ever covered before, and I was thinking about, like, what could I do? What kind of theme? I don't really have an idea of a particular kind of theme, more features of that theme developers can use. So like colors and style and all that stuff's all up in the air. We can do whatever we want. Oh, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. You're from Brazil? That's awesome. How is it in Brazil these days? How's the weather there? It's really hot where I am, up in Canada. I can only imagine what it's like in Brazil. All right. So we're just going to mess around, and then we're going to see what kind of theme. We're going to mess around with certain functionality that hopefully will help somebody in the future to use it and build their own theme. So let's take a look. Steam Deck support. Hopefully you're not talking about big box theming. All right, well, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new theme and give it any name that we want. Theme. Perfect. Killer Instinct. Neon blue. So you're talking like a color? Or is that already a style of theme that's out there that you want me to take a look at? Thanks, Scout to me. Thanks for making these great videos. Thank you so much. Hopefully you're learning something with the videos that I make. And Peter, what does one... there's two ways that you can make a theme. And either one, the first way, and that's a great question, by the way. The first way that you can make a theme is to just take... And this is the way that we had to do it in the past, is you go to your LaunchBox themes folder and you take the default theme, and you cannot, like, this is the theme that self-corrects itself every time you launch Big Box. So you can't actually edit this theme or else it'll overwrite your changes. So you just simply make a copy of it. And you can see here, I did that right here. And then you can go right into the files inside of views. And if you knew what you were doing, you can edit any of these views with, and I'll just give you an example of what one looks like. And it'll show up like code, just simple. And you can see here, yeah, it's just some simple code. It does take a while. It took me a while. I knew nothing about this coding language, which is XAML, ZAML, and I just learned slowly. And one of these weeks, I will delve into this. I'm not sure if I want that to be a live stream or if I want it to be a video series, although video series takes a lot more time to develop. But I might end up doing that. And then you can learn what grids are and that stuff, and you just simply edit it. The second way is that we've got an amazing community guy in the community named Dave, also known as Y2 Guru. And he's created this program that you see that I have open here called Community Theme Creator for Big Box. I believe I have a link down in the description here on YouTube. You can also just go to our forums and you can find it there in the downloads section under probably third-party tools or something. Do I use Visual Studio primarily? Yes. And there's a reason for that. I mean, you don't have to. Obviously, you can use any text editor. But I just like the options. There's two kind of options that the... I closed it. There's two options that the Visual Studio will give you. The first one is that it does self-correct some of the things that you're typing, or finish off things that you're typing out because it knows the language that you're typing, and it'll do that for you. And the second one is that it also will give you suggestions about all the properties and stuff that's inside of the binding that you're looking at, or that you're inside of. And you can really learn a lot. I learned a lot from just using Visual Studio and just seeing, like, well, what options can go inside of an image? What properties can be inside of an image? And it'll just, like, you're inside, and I'll show what that means, what I mean by that. But if I opened up this project, and hey, Ernesto, So in here, if I opened up anything, so let's go into here. And I was creating an image as an example. So I'm just going to do image. Simply, okay, I don't need that, but that's it. That's like the type of thing I want to display. And now if you see, I press space and it's literally telling me all the different properties that I can put inside of an image. And so that's what I learned. Like, it's like, well, I can have a source. I can stretch it. And then it's like, okay, well, what does stretching mean? So I double click it and they're stretching. And then it gives me all the options that you can use inside of a stretch: fill, none, uniform, uniform to fill. And then that gives me a starting place to go and search. Well, what does stretch fill mean? What versus stretch uniform versus stretch uniform to fill versus stretch none? And then once I can wrap my head around that, move on to the next one. All right, before I get behind with you guys, what are you saying? Matthew Stevens, you appreciate showing us behind the scenes of the hard work that goes into this. And there's a lot more. I mean, if you're on the forums, you'll see that in beta, we're basically popping out betas all the time. And if you guys haven't looked at the beta thread in the last week or so, there's some cool features coming in the next update. And at the same time, we're already planning the next, what's coming next. Also, the community poll is coming soon, so get ready for that. I hope you guys participate. That helps us tremendously direct where we go with LaunchBox. And Ray said, if you're going to buy premium, is there any way you can buy? And I'm assuming that is your currency. Canada. Reyes. Am I saying that right? You can. I don't think that regional currency is possible right now. That would take a whole other level of payment systems. We have explored it in the past. In the recent past, and we are still exploring it. And but in order to implement any kind of system like that, we would definitely take a lot of time that we could and we do want to spend that time on it, but not at the moment, unfortunately. And Pavel, is there any way for themes to distinguish PAL and NTSC consoles? So the thing about that is that's not the theme itself that will distinguish between them, but it's your personal LaunchBox setup. You can set up in multiple different ways to distinguish yourself between, let's say, a PAL lineup of games versus an NTSC lineup of games versus, some sort of Japan line of games. You can do that. And if you had that in your, and I mean, you're bringing up sort of like it's a unique example here. Well, not too unique, but Genesis versus Mega Drive, right? Same system, different name. That's actually easier to do because then you can have two separate platforms, one called Mega Drive, one called Genesis. And then as a theme creator, I can utilize those two names, right? I can say, okay, if the platform's user is Sega Mega Drive, show this blue, background. And I actually did this in my cover box theme. So if you had a theme called Mega Drive, then it would show this blue background, and it was actually a completely different theme than a Sega Genesis. Now, some platforms aren't as simple as that. Some platforms are called the same thing no matter which region you're in, and now it would be up to a user library to distinguish between them in some way. Maybe create a playlist is an option. Create separate platforms are options. Like that's the thing about LaunchBox, is that you can create whatever you want. You can import games and call them whatever. And as a theme creator, all we can really do, we can't create possibilities for everything. So what we tend to do is we create possibilities for all of our standards. And then somebody else can go, and what's great about what we're going to do is that I'm going to use this program called the Community Theme Creator, and within a a week or two, this version that I'm using will come out. It's in the final release candidate version, and I'll be posting all of the projects that I've been doing up to this point, and anyone would be able to take those files, load them up into the Community Theme Creator, and mess around with them as much as you want. You could add your, Sega Genesis specific look if you want. And that's basically what I started doing last week, which was with Coverbox, that you could see, like, I have the Nintendo. If somebody had a Nintendo system, it would look like this. But if somebody had, something else, the Super Nintendo system, and they went into their platform, it would instead look like this. So yeah, that granularity with themes is possible. All right, and last, is ETA Prime Killer Instinct? You're saying, is ETA Prime also part of the Unbroken software? Because you watch his videos, he also shows the LaunchBox features and updates. So he does do videos for us, and he's amazing at it. So yeah, he is part of doing videos and helping us on the YouTube channel completely. But yeah, and his videos and his channels are also awesome to watch. He does so much with hardware. How does he keep up with that? I don't know. That's like my dream. Is that anybody else's dream, to just like continuously have different hardware flowing into your house that you can test out? I want like 50 controllers that I can just like plug away LaunchBox with. All I have is this one. This is my claim to fame. No, it's not really. It's a cheap Chinese, looks like a SNES Bluetooth controller that has those like extra it's so white that you can't see it. It has those extra functions like the analog sticks and the two buttons up here and all that stuff. Like, I got this for like $20 from like AliExpress. And surprisingly works well, so can't complain. I'm like, I need something that's wireless, but also retro, but also can play all the modern games, and I don't want to spend $70. That's what I came up with. There's also another controller that looks really cool. It looks like a Sega Genesis controller, but also has all of the modern buttons and functionality. So it's got your 6 Sega Genesis controller buttons, but also the 2 analog sticks and the extra buttons at the top, shoulder buttons. And I'm like, this would be awesome. Like it looks so cool, but apparently it only works with the Switch, and I don't really want to purchase that just to have it on the Switch. But I could purchase it just to see if it's possible to have it on something else, but you'd probably have to hack at it. Anyway, enough about controllers. Let's get back into theming. There's a couple things that I really want to get into. And what was the suggestion? Neon blue, a neon blue style theme. So let's go with that. What we're going to do first is I want to show you guys just how you would go about creating your own logos for your own themes and then use them within your theme. I always seem to show this off, but never actually go through with it and show how you can then use those files that you create into your theme. So you have Dr. Suicide, you have used third-party wireless Switch controllers on your PC. Did you have to do anything funny to like get that to work? From my understanding is that they don't work by default. Like you can see them Bluetooth wise. They go in, but they don't act like controllers, and you need something else, maybe like a dongle or something that can really read what those controllers are doing or something like that. I don't know. I've never had one to test. I just read things, but man, I would love that Sega Genesis controller. All right. let's take a look. Wait, I was going to create a new theme. Neon blue. There you go. All right, so it creates a brand new theme. It puts everything back. I don't actually have anything down here. You can see none of these dots are gray. What's my favorite big box theme? That's the toughest question. What is everybody's favorite big box theme? The way that I view it is that it's hard to have a favorite theme, because the benefit of something like big box is the ability to customize and have the option to keep changing based on your mood, right? And that's that I want to be able to keep switching, and the ability, so big box has the ability to change views per platform theme, or you can mix and match themes and make your own theme. And you can do that without coding. You can literally just say, okay, on the Super Nintendo, I want to use this one theme, but on the Sega Genesis, I want to use this other theme. And then on the platform view, I want to use this other theme. And you can like mix and match themes like that. And, how do you pick one? The variety is what's great. And the more that people come out with new themes, I love checking them out. So if you do ever create a theme, if anybody creates a theme, please post it on the forums, because I'll be the first person to go there and download it and load it up and try it out. See, and Matt, you're saying City Hunter and Bannerbox. I love City Hunter. That's awesome. I love that whole era, that whole like concept. And Rob, you have your own custom theme. And Rob, I'm going to talk about the special feature that we added today or last week for you, because I think some people that have similar situations to you might benefit from using while I don't have it. I'm realizing that I need to have LaunchBox open, but it's gonna bring me back over here, isn't it? It is. Do I see LaunchBox? I need to move LaunchBox over. Here it is. Okay, so I'm realizing I'm gonna definitely need that. There it is. To talk about your whole, what is it called? Custom fields. So we'll talk about custom fields at a point, and then I'll try to give some scenarios on why you might want to use them, and then how you can use them inside of your big box themes. That was the exact situation that you found yourself in last week, Rob. And at some point, Rob, you might want to release that to the forums. I'd love to try it out and see how you got everything sort of worked in there with your interesting monitor setup. And I don't know if anybody else has this monitor setup, but correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but you have a giant monitor in portrait mode, but you're only display like inside of a arcade cabinet, and you're only displaying part of that monitor, just like the middle part or something, and everything else is hidden. And you're like, well, how am I going to do this? I need to have a theme that only covers this part of the monitor. And you built your own theme for that, which is awesome. All right. First thing we're going to do, and something that I did. So I have have you ever wanted to create your own logos? You see those silver ring logos or other kind of, and you want to unify your particular theme to use a specific kind of logo. Well, Theme Creator makes this extremely easy to do. And let's go through the process. I have already got a bunch of logos. Now, granted, I didn't have the time to make sure that all of the logos file names match my platform system. So basically all of your logo names need to match what you see in here in your set. And then it'll only generate the logos based off of what you have. So I'm not going to create logos for everybody right now. I'm going to just show off what it could take, and you can utilize these files to create your own logo sets if you wanted to. And so you can see here that I'm going to try to build everything. Hopefully everything shows up. And we're going to go to custom platform logos. You can see here that you can create many different kinds of images, 9 for platform, 9 for games. This is just an artificial limitation. You'll never really need to create this many. And if you had to create more than 9, just create a new theme and then you can continue creating more images. It's probably better for organizational purposes anyway. So let's just use the first one here. And what this does is that you decide to create a canvas, which you can see item image canvas, create a size for your logo. So I don't know, let's create 720p style logos. There you go. And we're going to do something really cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to media folder. That's going to open up directly into my media folder inside of my new neon blue theme. And I do have, and something that I tried to get it ahead of time here, so I've got a whole bunch of clear logos and controllers. I'm just going to drop them into here. That'll make sense later. What else do I have here? So here, I'm just going to create a folder called theme. And for now, I'm going to dump this in there, and that will become relevant later. But right now, the most relevant thing for us is that I've got these clear logos, and I basically have a pack of logos that someone shared with me a long time ago. And I didn't go through that. I roughly went through them, and I tried to clean them up a bit. But basically, the gist is that all of the names of your logos have to match the names of your platforms in your particular library, or else it won't find it. And you can simply go into your logo pack and whatever and just change the name. Some of the common ones that go against LaunchBox standards are Panasonic 3DO. We call it 3DO Interactive Multimedia because if you look up that system is, yes, Panasonic made a version of it, but the whole point of the 3DO was that they would release the specs and anyone could create hardware for the 3DO. So it wasn't necessarily a Panasonic thing. They just were one of the ones that made a 3DO. And then some of the other ones, and don't ask me why, but WonderSwan and WonderSwan Color, that's their names. A lot of logo packs will add the name Bandai in the front since they're the ones that the manufacturers of it, or they're the creators of it or something. Those are the systems that were only released in Japan. Or was they released? I think they were only released in Japan. And so these are the standard names. So I went in and I changed those ones, but I didn't really go everywhere else. Like you can see here, they added a number 1 here. You would have to get rid of that. Some of these systems I don't even know. So I'll include this pack in when I release the files here, the project files. So hopefully I've renamed enough to really cover all the systems that I have. I'm going to call it clear logo, and I placed it as metadata. I'm going to tell it that I want you to look for the platform name, or let's say title, and I want you to look inside of clear logo and display anything that's in there. Okay, it's platform, isn't it? Oh, not that one. Platform. It's not. Oh, I have to reset that. There you go. Okay, so it's looking for, when you hit metadata, it's looking for the text called platform, which in this case shows up on the system I'm on, Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And then I say, well, look inside of a folder called clear logos where all my images are and see if there's any image .png. That's very important. It's got to be a PNG image that has the name Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And so I found one and it's going to display it. Okay, so and now I have to style it. You can see that the black background, that's just indicating to me that this is the canvas size and the background will actually be transparent. So you don't have to concern yourself. Well, you don't have to concern yourself with that. It's always going to be transparent. If you don't want it to be transparent, just put something back there like a rectangle. Okay, what's next? We're going to create a frame. Now, frames inside of LaunchBox, frames inside of BigBox are actually called borders. In the theme creator, we're calling them frames. And the reason why I'm doing that is because this is one of the only objects, a frame is one of the only objects that allows you to have corner radiuses. So I'm just going to simulate creating, let's say if you wanted a circular or oval shaped logo pack. All right, so let's create one. Let's see what it would look like. So I'm going to do a background. Actually, I'm not going to do a background color for now. Obsidian, how you doing, man? I will do a foreground color, right? So I've got to tell it, well, what's the thickness? So let's do like a big thickness. Was it the thicker the better? Let's do 25. So I've got to do, you can see here that I'm doing left, right, up and down. There you go. And then why don't I do something like 25 here? You can see that each corner will start, the corner radius, it'll start curving the corner. Now, what if I wanted like a really huge curve? 250. And then 250 here. Right. So I could have that as a logo if I wanted. I can do more, 300. I think I'm getting to that point. Maybe 400. And you can see by the time I get to something like this, 400, it's starting to look like an oval. There you go. And now I can play around with the new linear gradient tool. This becomes a really cool functionality to have, where we're going neon blue, right? So let's take a look at what that looks like. I almost feel like we need to have maybe one over here, one over here. Now we'll create some different shades, add a new point here, add a couple new points. Maybe one that crosses into like a greenish. Ooh, okay. It's not doing what I want because I created a new one here. Okay, so let's delete that. Okay, that's better. Or should I go the other way? Purplish. All right. So there's a good start. Now let's worry about the background. So we want to have 100% background. And maybe we'll do a radial gradient. And we're going to have to play around with this a lot, but think we can get something that's looking pretty good. All right. I kind of wanted to do one more thing, but I'm thinking that I might have to do some photoshopping if I wanted to see it. Let me think. What would be the faster way to do it? All right, Photoshop it is. Oh, apparently I already have Photoshop open. Okay. And let's take a look at this. What do I want to see? So I want to see maybe a new layer. With some sort of pattern. Let's see, what kind of patterns do we like? Okay, so you can see here that the pattern is sort of really tiny angular lines. We can change the scale if we want. Maybe something like that. Although now, looking at it, I'm going to need to use one that has a transparent background. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Sure. Get rid of the fill, and there we have it. Let me save that. Where do I save it? Into my LaunchBox Tools Community Theme Creator. My project is called Neon Blue. And there you go. We got some cool. I mean, we'll put it into here. We got that so that grid feeling. Okay. How can you add a glass effect inside the background? That's a great question. So you can do that, and you will need a layer like an image that is showing like a glass background. That would be the simplest way. And I feel like I have one, and I will search for it for you so that we can achieve that effect, and then I'll show you how to do that. But let's import our image and see what we got, and see if my thought process on the fly has worked out. So it's just a static image inside of, where did I put it? Custom image assets. There it is. I'm going to just full screen that stuff. And so that's what it looks like right now. Let's see what I can do. So I would be able to do opacity. And now I'm going to probably need to, I mean, I can do one of two things. I can either create the image so that it's the exact size of this, or I can create an opacity mask that's the size that I want. I might go that direction. So let me use this as a canvas for Photoshop. And what I'm going to want to do, let's think about this. I'm going to create now that I'm thinking about this on the fly, I'm going to create a brand new logo. Like, why use Photoshop? And we're going to create an opacity mask. An opacity mask basically tells the image where it should be visible and where it shouldn't. And it's going to be visible where the black part of this opacity mask image is, and it will be not visible wherever the transparency part of the image is. And so I don't need this in this image, and I just need this frame. In fact, I only really want this to be a solid color of black in the middle, and I want the foreground, the border thickness, to be transparent. Oh, I took away the background. So the border color, here we go, to be transparent. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that for the solid color. Perfect. And now what you're seeing is just this one frame at the exact size that I want, and that will allow me to add as many images that I want in this area without going over the border. So I save this. You can see it's just a black image of my logo, and I'm going to see if I can render this out. They're going to make me do all the platforms. Oh, I can't remember if I could do just a one image at a time. I don't think I can. So I'll just do this, and then there we go. So now I've got to go into my files where it saved it. In here. Neon blue, and there's going to be custom images area. There's my image that I want. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to use that as my opacity mask. So in here, let me actually put it in here. And we'll just call it opacity mask. Let's go back in here and apply that opacity mask to this sort of grid style, grid lines. Down here you can see an opacity mask section. You want it to use a specific image. That image I put into the custom image and opacity mask. And there you see that it fills the space inside of just the black part of my opacity mask image. I'm going to bring down the opacity so it gives that grid look, but not so harshly. And now, just for you, Killer Instinct, let's go and find some sort of glass. I must have it somewhere here, right? Let's use this one. I believe this one's from created by Mr. Retrolust. Hopefully he's doing good today, and we can take that and put it into our community theme creator files, and we'll go right into custom images. No, we'll go right into media in custom image assets, and let's see what we can do with this one. So let's take a look at the glass. Let's see how harsh it'll be. We'll full screen that. This is your glass effect. And we'll come down here and find the effect. There you go. So, and you can see here that it's keeping its aspect ratio, which doesn't quite align with what we want. So there's two ways that you can do that. I was talking about what is stretch, fill, none, uniform, and uniform to fill. Well, let's find out. If you fill, it's going to stretch out that to the full canvas. If you uniform to fill, it will stretch out to the canvas but keep its aspect ratio. Now, because we're using opacity mask, I feel like we have to use fill. And it shouldn't be a big deal that it's stretched a bit because it is just a glass transparent layer. So we're using this. We'll go here and we will add our same opacity mask. Like, why not? And now you can see that it's appearing, the glass is appearing inside of our little thing. We can adjust the colors. What's the colors? We can adjust the opacity to a point that we like it. It's got like the little scratches, the glass effect. And then on top of this, let's say you wanted a highlight effect. Let's go in here and see what that looks like. So if I create a rectangle as an example, and I full screen that, and just so that we can see it first, let's use the I'm using the wrong layer. That's funny. Okay, so we'll go in here, opacity mask. Okay, we've got a white. We've got this white rectangle shaped as our oval. We will do a linear gradient. And what's cool here is that we can, we'll play around with it a bit. But let's say on this side, I don't want to see anything. And then I can sort of play around with that. And let's say I wanted this sheen on the top part of this image. I can create that sheen, this nice white sort of effect over it. And then I can sort of taper it down with the opacity here. And that gives you that sort of like there's a glare coming from light coming from the top. Sorry, from this side, from the top over here, shining down on the logo. Well, so far so good. So this could be like our white highlight. Well, let me catch up with all of you guys. Retro Nuck, you're looking forward to playing around with the editor. You've only played around with the XAML on existing themes so far. Yeah, so definitely dive into it, and you can jump back and forth. But remember that only themes created with the theme creator. You would have to get the creator's project files, the theme creator's project files, so that you can load them into the creator if you're wanting to see how themes were made by a specific user. And only some theme creators release their project files. Now, every theme that I've created here and a bunch of themes in my past, I've released them. I usually release them as a separate file called like the community theme project files or something like that. So you can't just load like a theme files that run in Big Box. And Faisal, you're saying you recently purchased premium license to put themes in LaunchBox. LaunchBox or Big Box? So it fits in LaunchBox, which does have a theme engine. But every time you do that, errors occur while parsing the theme. Okay, well, we can try to talk about some troubleshooting. Not the best place for it. You definitely should talk to somebody on the forums or in Bitbucket. But just common troubleshooting things that you can do. Your file system highly matters. And by that, I mean, like, is your hard drive formatted to NTFS, exFAT? Like the hard drive that LaunchBox is particularly on. Make sure you know that. NTFS works the best because LaunchBox does use symlinking, and if you're using an old type of file system, it won't work. But yeah, this is not 100% like Neil saying the place for that. But definitely find out what's wrong. You can always troubleshoot your issue and figure out what's going on. And there are places to do that. And we're definitely happy to try to figure out what the problem is. And RetroNuck does the editor support LaunchBox themes? It does not, although it's just Big Box right now. But Dave has mentioned to me in the past that he does want to do LaunchBox themes, but it's one of those things that's sort of like a mystery right now, right? We don't really know. Some people have delved into it. It's not really as documented as I'd like it to be. And even I have not delved into it because I like completely admit that it's not my specialty, and I'm trying really hard to make it my specialty. So in my spare time on weekends and stuff, I'm just diving into the code, labeling things in LaunchBox, and then everything that I find, I will post somewhere and for everybody to see. And then that will hopefully help Dave to look and see how LaunchBox is sort of put together, all the little modular snippets of code that does one thing or another. And then, yeah, it from what I've learned, so I've done this for about a week or two, and I've looked in the code and I've been slowly labeling it so that, because I really badly want to create a LaunchBox theme. I think that that's untapped potential. What we've seen already is just, personally, I feel, is just like a small snippet of what's possible out there. Like it's extremely, I'm going to use the word extremely, but it's very modular, the way that LaunchBox themes work. That you can get some really cool modern looks that we don't currently have out there. And so I've got an idea of what I want it to look like. I mean, check out themes like the Lambda theme. That really shows a little bit of what's possible out there. Like, we don't necessarily need to have menu items with their text name, like tools and view. You can change those to icons if you wanted to. You can change their position to different areas in LaunchBox. You can have different things in different places. The box view, you can do some cool stuff there too. And so, yeah, I can't wait to dive into that. All right. So far, we've seen a lot of themes that are sort of slightly changes, maybe stylistic changes. But I think LaunchBox theming is one of those untapped things where, especially if the theme creator got on board and could do it, we would start seeing some awesome themes. Yeah, and RetroNuck, I'm started that process. It would help if there was more than one of me, because I feel that there is like a lot to do and not a lot of time. So I do spend a lot of my time just keeping up with stuff, trying to document things, trying to go forward. You know, we're already planning like the next release of LaunchBox and trying to see what that looks like, and like all this stuff's happening behind the scenes. And one of those items is to try to document theme code snippets better so people understand what they are and how they can utilize them. I feel like I can't teach it unless I know it, so that's why I've just been sitting there and trying to learn it myself. All right, I think we could do a better job of the frame. But so far, so good. Like, it doesn't look too bad. But one thing that I think I could do better a little bit is create, let me see where I would need that. Create a few more that are sort of like really white. And that'll give it a kind of, I'm hoping that it gives it some sort of metallic-y type of look here. Where else can I put it? Maybe down here. Just see what that looks like. Yeah, not exactly what I wanted. I really wanted it to be textured, but we don't have time. So let's that's right. It's exactly like what we all go through, me included, where you're sitting there and you're getting your library up and running, or do you sit there and you play games? And I think if we're all here, we have to admit that sitting there and getting your library, all the images that you want and all the metadata that you want and organized the way you want, it's just as fun as playing the games at this point. That's the fun of this. All right. And all of that, how does this look? I mean, it's starting to look like a logo. I can even, I feel like I should probably make this a little bigger. There you go. Okay, so let's end there. I created my little neon logos, and what I can do now is that any single piece of metadata, like the logo in the middle, will change every time I change the name on this side, and it'll utilize any file inside of there. So let me just make sure I have a logo. So you can already see I'm missing one from here. So let me just rename it. 3DO Interactive Multiplayer. Okay. Okay, so there's the logo. Arcade is obviously not showing one, but I feel like I do have one in here, no? Or is it called MAME? Oh, you know what I didn't do? I forgot the S. I did not bring like an art. Maybe I have one called Arcade. If I don't, I'll bring one over. There's one that's called Arcade. Here's a cool looking one, Arcade PC, or should I bring over Arcade Classics? Never really seen this Arcade PC one. Oh, Arcade Classics is one of those classic ones. We'll just name it Arcade. All right. You can see it's just going to cycle through all of my images that I have in that folder. And whoa, 7,800. Huh, it is missing, isn't it? That's odd. Okay. Not too many options there. I think overall should have most of my platforms here. Just want to make sure we're actually getting those images. All right. And television is one of those other ones that doesn't quite match up with what we have in our system. One more question. Possible to turn these clear logos into white monochrome versions via editor without external editing? The answer is yes. You can. But the problem is it'll turn it white. Can you turn it monochrome? You can turn it black and white. Okay, so that's possible. If you turn it white, which you can, but remember that it's going to lose the detail, right? So if you're wanting it to be just like a solid white background, make sure that the logo that you're using would facilitate that. Or else it'll just look like one big blob or something. An example of that would be this, right? This circle would become one big blob. So keep that in mind. But if you're asking how to do it, you simply go to the clear logo down here in... No, and great questions, by the way. More questions, the better. You can see here I can grayscale it to very low or very high, and you can play around with the difference. You can see here that it does create this background, and so low means that it's going to become fuzzy. Some people, it's useful for certain situations. And then down at the bottom here, you can create an opacity mask based on the current image, and that gets rid of the background. And that's how you would accomplish that. And then if you're like, well, how do I make it white, as an example? Well, you can turn on color tinting here, and then I can say, okay, I want it white. And there's how I said it's just going to turn into a giant blob. Now you can control that. Maybe I can bring this down a little bit. There you go. Now it's a little gray. So yeah, that's how you would do it. And you can do that to any image, really. But yeah, great questions. The glass effect really worked, and adding that sheen onto the side really helps out, eh? Overall, not too bad. Got our logos in there. Missing a couple, but overall pretty good. That's an interesting one, considering I saw them in there. Well, that's that reason. And then Dreamcast, where are you? There you are. Sega Dreamcast. Look at that. So far, so good. Got the Sega Mega System. Tell us what's your idea for the theme. And ads 427, you're saying Game Boy had white bits in it. It did have white bits in it. Good catch. I don't know why it's not blue either. I thought I had one that was blue. I have a logo called Game Boy Thin. That's odd. Let's see, what other Game Boys do I have? This one might actually be better. Yeah, it's a white one for now. Actually, this would be a perfect opportunity to show you guys. Let's say you get to that point where you're sitting there like, oh man, if only the Nintendo Game Boy was some sort of shade of blue. If you look down here, you see that we have a theme and then platform. If I click platform, so I copy this theme's logo into platform, now I'm going to be creating a special logo just for the Game Boy. And so any changes I make here will just be for the Game Boy. So why not? Why not do this sort of color tinting where I go over with like a shade of blue that would look good, and then opacity mask it with the current image, and blam, I've got a Game Boy logo that would look more of what I want without needing to go into Photoshop and doing anything specific. And so that would only show up, this platform, on the Nintendo Game Boy. So if I go into any other system, you'll see that the platform little icon never shows up. You're saying, is it possible to set max width height so the icons scale appropriately? Yes, you can. And like I have, but you can see that the Wii, for example, is quite large. Right? And the reason is because it's at this perfect size that it's taking up the space that I gave it. It's not brushing up against the top, or like Virtual Boy is brushing up against the sides, and the aspect ratio is small enough to not look good, but the Wii might be a little bigger. And you definitely have to think, well, do I squish it so that it goes down to a specific size? But by doing so, another image that's maybe vertically inclined might get too squished to become too small. That might be another candidate. This might be another candidate for a theme-specific option or a platform-specific option, and then I don't have to really worry. Right? I can be like, oh, kind of wanted it to be a little smaller, right? Like this, and then I could just set it into the middle, align to the middle, and then we're done. Also, why is it so gray? Let's make it white. There we go. And you see that Wii U was missing, so let's go back in here. Do I even have a Wii U? I do. It had a dash in it. Let's get back into the theme logos. There we go. Okay, we really got to get to the end of this theme, or else we'll never get to the actual theme. Let me just go through and see. All the arcades probably not there. Right, Retro Nook? It's amazing this sort of granularity that this tool provides. Where's my PlayStation 2? It's not there. All right, let's make it white. Let's do this one. Let's do Model 3. Looks great. Okay, and then I think the only other one was the Game & Watch, which I'm pretty sure just needs one of these symbols. And then let's just go to the last little bit here. And okay, so Windows. Sure, I can have games for Windows or just Windows. Games for Windows, the old classic. All right, so I think we're good to go. And then really all I have to do now is go Utilities, no, Render Custom Images. And we're going to do all platforms. And you'll see that it's going to go through all 54 of mine. And while it's doing this, it's saving the images onto my hard drive. Of course, there was still 2 missing. Where were you, Sony PlayStation? Didn't like my copy and paste, I guess. So if I just wanted to do one, I would just go back and do one for the selected platform. And there was one somewhere here missing. Well, make it easy. We'll just come here and we'll go check out where's our custom images. Show us the customness of the images. There's Sega Model 3's done, but look at that. We're good to go. And then if you're wanting to save on size, you don't have to do this. You can always run these images through some sort of compressor of some kind. If you're concerned about size. For now, I'm not concerned about size, so I'm just going to leave them as is. They're really big, nice and big logos. You know, nice and big logos. And they'll go nicely with this theme. So let me just quickly go through Model 3 and see what's going on. I probably just have to name it. Or it's possible I did not paste it. All right, there we go. That was our last logo. So we got our logos created. And at this point, you could basically package this up and put it on the forums. Be like, here's my neon blue glass game or platform logo pack for everybody. And this tool is perfectly fine for that. In this case, we're going to take all of these logos and use them as theme-specific logos that will override the logos that a user has in their own library. So we're saying, if you're going to use my theme, you're going to use my logos. And so to do that, we're just going to move them into a different section of our theme project. In this case, there's a section called the Big Box Media Overrides. And this is basically the area where it will use these logos that are inside of here instead of a user's logos. Instead, you can see that there's a video section and an image section, so you can make them use your own platform videos if you wanted to package those into the theme. In this case, we're looking specifically at platforms, but you can include playlist categories. You can really go all out here. You can do banners, clear logos, device, and fan art. If you're wanting to utilize any of those in your own theme, which I've done in the past. And then in here, README, it says, place your custom platform clear logo images here, and they will automatically override the user's existing platform clear logos images when this theme is in use. Name the images the name of the platform, such as Nintendo64.jpg. Both JPEG and PNG images are supported here. But in our case, we've got PNG images, and we don't have to worry about naming them because we've already done that part. Done. Okay, so now we're going to get out of this custom logo area. I'm back into themes. And let's start creating our platform. We're going to go here, platform wheel 1. All right, and we're going to do a couple things here. What kind of wheel does a neon blue theme use? Should it be on the left, on the right? Doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to make this as large as I can. And I'm going to make this a good chunk of space. What do you guys think? Do you think that we need to make it so the logos are vertical, a vertical menu that's curved or straight? We're going to use clear logos here. I'm going to set it to straight for now, but we have the ability to curve the wheel, curve it so like you see in Unify and things like that. So that's actually two things here. The rotation will rotate it. And there is one more option that I'm actually not seeing in here, which I'm very, oh no, I am seeing it in here. So the first one is curve amount. So this one will curve the wheel itself, left or right. The second one is rotation. So that the rotation will turn or twist, rotate the actual clear logo image per image. It'll try to rotate it to give it sort of like that wheel sort of look. And they're separate properties that you can use individually of each other. But so far, I think this default will be pretty good. Let's take a look at what else we can do with this theme. We'll do something pretty basic. We'll have a background. Put it in the background. What should we... what should we do here? We'll do a linear gradient that will get darker as you go down. All right. And we'll have our clear logos. Let's add our video. Selected item video. And let's do something that you see a lot of themes do. Let's something like that. And we'll even fade it out a little bit. Actually, the better solution would not be to fade it out, but would be to make this one a little more to fade out the rectangle, and then that gives us that sort of sheen that I'm looking for. A little bit of a color corrector. And then the rest of this will just be, and let's do what people want to see in a theme like this. So in our case, let's go with a grid. And we're going to place it under the wheel. And let's go over here. And then inside of the grid, actually we'll make the grid black. But maybe 75% opacity. I'm gonna even go further. 40%. Something really. And let's skew it a bit. Just with this oops. Let's go all the way to 40%, I think is a good skew. And then what we're going to have to do to hide the right side of that, which I am blocking, is unlock the canvas. And then we're just going to shoe this in there. There we go. So far, so good. Now we can have text. And I always love to see the text of the total games count. So in my case, I'm going to need to do best thing that I can do, make a doc, put a few text elements in there. We'll start with one and we'll call it total games. And this is where we can do anything we want. Want something a bit better than that font, right? Let's play around with some of the colors here. All right. Control that a bit. quite dark. All right, so we'll get total games off and to the side here. And I'm going to need to make this auto-sized. And we'll create some 2 copies of this. And the reason I'm creating 2 copies is the next one will be the total games metadata. So we'll switch to metadata, and then we'll go to total games count. And the second one, actually, no. I don't think we'll need a second one. That should be good enough for us. So this one's our total games. Doc. This one's just called total games text. And this one will be the total games metadata. Okay. I'm guessing that we don't need more than this amount of space. Does anybody have more than 4 numbers inside of one platform? Maybe 5 numbers. I should be calculating, yeah, so that should be good enough. And then what I'll do is just place it on the far right so that it's always on the right side. And then I'm going to shove it behind my body here. And then I'll make this the right size, what I need. Okay, so I got total games in the bottom. And what I am going to do is I'm going to create a copy of the grid that I have. And I'm going to place it at the very top. And I'm basically going to flip the skew. There we go. And then sort of hide that in there. And then up here, actually, I'm going to need to make it larger. Oh, actually, what I really should do is, so it's this one, right? It's this one. I'm going to paste it inside of this grid. That's why I didn't paste inside this grid. So in order for this to work, I'll probably need to use a rectangle. I remove the skew off of this, but put the skew onto the rectangle. Just going to do 0, set the color to black, and the opacity of this thing down to, what, 40% I said? And then the grid itself would not have a background. Okay, so far so good. We're going to put the total games, which is now going to be called platform. And why did I do all that? So I did all of that because what I really want to do is, now that I did all that, what I really want to do is, I'm going to need a frame is make this top bar modular. So how would you make this top bar scale to the length of your platform title? And so let's say I've got this platform name. I'm going to get rid of this. I've got this platform and I want it to be the platform name. And you can see here, Sega model. Oh, Matthew, thank you so much. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day. Right, you want up here, the Sega model to be, you want this background to be sort of the same length as the Sega model. I don't want it to be any bigger. So one thing that you can do here is I placed a frame. That frame is going to have the background and it'll have the skew. Now I'm thinking about it. I can simply do this. And it's going to remain the size of what's inside of it, which is nothing. There we go. This is one of those conundrums that I'm gonna have to work through. And I figured it out. Okay, so pretty sure I was right the first time. I wonder why it's way over there. Okay, there we go. Better. Put that back to platform name, and then we're going to the issue that I'm having, and I might have to just look at this later, is requiring this to skew. Oh, you know what I could do? But not have anything inside of it skew. Here's one way you can get around that. So let's say I have a frame that's 40% background. I put the platform inside of there. So far, so good. I'm gonna put my margins around it. You know, maybe 20 on either side. So far, so good. The frame itself needs to be the size of the grid. The grid is auto size, so I'll do that. That's better, which means inside of here, I would need to also provide some margins on either side to fatten that up a bit. And then the last piece of this puzzle, I'd almost need this side to be 40. Actually, maybe both sides 40. Yeah, and the last piece of this puzzle would be, okay, what happens if I skew this? That happens. What happens if I skew this the opposite direction? Perfect. That's what I'd have to do. There you go. Of course, now we're probably going to need a lot more margins on either side. Let's say 60. How does that look? That looks better. And then we'll just go crazy on this side just so that we can buy ourselves some room. And at this point, we take the whole grid and we're going to shove it into that corner. There we go. And just for fun, we're going to rotate our gradient. So it looks like the lighting is coming from the middle or something. Okay, so let's just see what that accomplished. So at this point, that should have accomplished the ability for this little background here that has that sort of stretched side, or the skewed sides, to also scale to the size of, and it's scaling to the wrong side, but we could fix that. So it's working in the wrong direction. Just put everything to the right and see what we get. Now we're going to bring back this a little bit. Okay, did all of those right aligns actually work for us? Everything else looks good. Well, it didn't, but at least I got it working. Wonder if that should be a centered. Okay, now I know why. The grid itself can't be auto-sized. And oops, that's the wrong one. But does need to be a specific length. Hey, Mr. Retrolust, hopefully you're doing good today. And you were here last week when I was trying to do that whole viewbox thing, and I mentioned earlier in this stream that I what I was thinking was possible is actually not possible in XAML at all. So yeah, I was sort of in my mind just sort of working on a losing battle. Like completely not possible to do what I wanted to do, which was control its size and at the same time be able to make it wrap. The example that I was remembering only did one of those, really had a static size that would wrap inside of a view box. I'm like, well, that doesn't really help in my situation. Then Glauco Fox, is there a way to make elements be fluid on the page? So when you say fluid, you mean it would change depending on the resolution of your monitor. So if somebody loaded up on your extra wide screen monitor, that the theme would then somehow adjust. And yes, you can do that, right? But the theme creator would have to have, there's different ways that you can do it. Either the view itself would have to be made for your fluid like wider screen, or the screen, the way that the theme is created, would have elements that could then adjust without stretching. Like it's all about the theme, the person creating the theme, right? Like what you're saying, could you have the Dreamcast anchored to the top right and then it just gets bigger and smaller? Yes, you can do that. So the theme creator would have to go, okay, I want to make sure that I'm making it to not a specific aspect ratio, as you can see here, but right now I'm set to stretch. And then that's step one of like many. And the second one is, okay, I want to have this appear in the top right corner. I can make it appear in the top right corner no matter whatever the resolution is. And then that means that, like, I'd have to know what kind of different resolutions am I working with, because if, like you said, you have this extra wide screen, well, so if some people don't have that extra wide screen, then I cannot take up this extra space that you have on your screen. I would have to keep that space, empty, so that if somebody did have a smaller size screen, I could then support their size screen, and it would show that it's like a much more condensed version. So if you've ever wondered why, okay, you could take a screen theme that's modular, but on my extra wide screen there's a lot of empty space, and you're like, well, why don't I just fill that space? You could 100% fill that empty space. Well, if you want a theme that is modular, and there are themes out there, then you need the extra space to support all of those different range of screens. And so it's good and it's bad to have a fluid theme like that. There's one of the best examples is Thimoler's theme, which I'm forgetting. I think it's called Pulse. It is modular in that it will stretch to different size themes, and then a lot of people will ask him, well, why is there all this empty space in the middle? Why can't we fill it with stuff? And like, well, he can fill it with stuff, but then it doesn't become a modular theme. Like now it won't work with 4x3 themes. So you got to pick and choose. You want it modular, or do you want a specific theme for your extra wide monitor that can fill the space nicely? And that's what's great about the community theme creator. You can fill the space to your size screen. And that's just a choice. That's a choice, a design choice that a theme creator will have to choose when they're starting to create their theme. And so the answer to your question is yes. Okay, so I'm going to move on. to, and I'll fix this one later. And I'm sure I'll figure that. I probably just need an extra grid or something. Okay, and so I've got this here, and I've got, that's interesting, that's just making it nice and dark red. My blue color is making it nice and red. I think I'm okay with like how it works. Other than the little problem that I'll have to solve. You know, it's a basic, nice, basic blue-ish theme. Wait, I don't even need this anymore, do I? There you go. I keep taking stabs at this, aren't I? Let's look at a couple other examples here. Like if I had a grid and I placed that grid inside of here, what would that grid do? Well, you can see that it's actually aligning properly. I want this to be 250 at least width. And I think we're okay. All right. No wrapping. I do want it to grow as big as I need it to go. All right, next. Which basically means what I want. Interesting. It's something hurting with the auto sizing feature. Yeah, well. Sort of odd. Yeah. Maybe I just have to push it now. Although that's totally speculative at this point. Yep. All right, I'll deal with this later. Let's go to a game. I mean, let's take a look. What does this even look like? So at the beginning, we decided to create... Oh, where's my LaunchBox? Here's my LaunchBox. Let's run big box. Okay, let's go into here. Find our neon blue theme. And there you have it. You have our little logos that we created at the beginning. And so far, so good. Yeah, we're missing my my playlist logo, and we'll get to that next. So the next thing that I really wanted to get to was a custom fields. A custom field example here. So I had Rob basically ask, I've got these playlists, and this playlist is the playlist itself is like, let's say, like in my case, is the top 100 NES games based off of some online top 100 list that I found. And so I created a playlist. I put the top 100, but then what I want to see like a top 100 logo appear over top every time that item appears. That is not the right version I have of LaunchBox. And so how do you do this? And the real problem is that games themselves don't actually know what playlist that they're in. There's like no actual data within the game itself saying, yeah, I'm a game and I am part of this playlist and that playlist and this playlist and that playlist. No, it's actually the opposite. It's you create playlists, and the playlist container knows what games are inside of it. That's sort of how LaunchBox works. So there's no way to be like, I'm a game, please call up all the playlists that I'm in. Functionality. So if you can't do that, then how are you supposed to display like a logo, a specific logo that you would want saying, hey, this game's part of my top 100 playlist? Well, there is a way to do this, and that's through a functionality called, for people that know it, it's called custom fields. And so custom fields, for people that don't know, are really fields that are designed for you as a library, LaunchBox owner, to create as like completely open-ended, create whatever field that you want, and then assign whatever value that you want to it. And in my case, it's like, I want to know the top 100. Let's say I wanted to know what games playlists we're in. I want that functionality. Or any other functionality. I wanted to know before people would use it for the types of controllers that was per game, or any other field that you really are part of some other front end or some other library or database that you're like, oh, I wish I could see that within LaunchBox. That's what custom fields were for, right? Instead of us saying like, you can only use this field for such and such, we're basically saying you can use this field for whatever you want. So I'm going to utilize this custom field. I'm going to go into one game and I'm going to see that there's a custom field here, and I'm going to call it playlists, and this value, I'm going to call it the top 100 SNES games. Top 100 SNES. And now that I have the custom field created, I can highlight all of my games inside of my playlist here, and I'm going to bulk edit using that custom field. So here, custom field playlists. Please select which values you would like to remove. I don't want to remove anything. Please select what I want. Oh, there it is. Top 100 SNES. Next. Done. And I'm done. So all of these are tagged with a top 100 SNES field. And in fact, you can even see right here, this is part of my top 100 SNES playlist. This is part of my top 100 SNES playlist. And I'm going to utilize that field in Big Box to showcase that I have now that functionality to call an image just for those particular games. So let's look at just a basic wheel game view. And we're going to paste the platform in there. And let's take a look at what we want. So the selected video, we're going to not make it full screen, and instead we'll put it in one of the corners. There we go. And we'll do sort of a basic theme here. We'll call up an image. We'll call it box art. And we'll place it down here. We'll make sure we have enough space for our index here. Let's make it display a box art of some kind. There we go. And might as well just keep it behind. What I have here is I have it keeping it behind this sheen of blue to keep with our theme. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll make this, might as well make it centered for the different style of box art that we have for the different systems. I'll open it up a bit, but always make it align to the top to align to this. And so this is what you would do. You create an image, and that image you're going to bind to metadata. But in this case, if you go to hidden somewhere in here, oh, you know what? There's something called, well, should be your data, unless Dave removed that functionality in this release. Which he might have done. I'll have to talk to him about that. All right, all these moving pieces. Or it might be that it's not there because I have to save and come back in. I'm not sure how often it reads the folders. Oh, we'll do one more test. it might only read it on startup of the community theme creator. Yeah, only reads it on startup. So you can see here, if you do create a brand new custom field, the community theme creator will have to get restarted because it only reads its XAML files or XML files when it boots up. So here we got playlists, and I'm going to look into, I don't know where I dropped it, into one of these folders. So when I said a while ago, this file is something we're going to look at later. Now's later. Top 100 SNES. There we go. So I'm going to examine all the values. Doesn't work, but it's going to look for any one of my values, and I'm going to place like an image here. Let's have some fun with it. Let me do something like this. We'll make it small. And we'll put it over the video like this, saying, hey, this one's a top 100 game. Did you know that? Well, let's see if it worked. Go to our Super Nintendo. And we're going to find one of these top 100 games. There you go. So it's a top 100 game. Hey, it shows that it's a top 100. If it's not a top 100 game, it won't appear. And that's custom logo or custom field support in Big Box is possible. Doing that. This is a good box to size to make sure we're getting sort of even amounts here. Okay, cool. Right, and this is very custom to your library. So your library, and let's just like keep it here as an example. Your library will have all of these things that you've customized, because you can. It's LaunchBox. You can do whatever you want. You create whatever fields that you want. You can lay it out whatever way that you want, and then you can come into Big Box and you can create whatever. You can create whatever the use all of those data points within Big Box and put them wherever you want. Okay, in saying that, what I'm probably going to do with this theme is create all of those points that we had, or all of those data fields that we use constantly throughout all of the different themes that you want to see, like genres and ratings and community star rating and the ESRB ratings and max players and all those things. What we're going to do is we're going to borrow the elements from Bannerbox. Let's see what we got. Ratings. We've got the star ratings. We've got the regions. We've got genres. And I think that's what I'm going to bring over. Oh, we also have favorite, broken, and completed. Okay. Look at that. And we're going to paste them all in here. And what's really cool is that we can create, we'll create a grid. And I'm going to line it up from this side. I'm going to stretch it out. And inside of this grid, I'm going to put a dock. And now I'm going to start placing all of my items into this dock and see what we come up with. So this is our playlist custom field. What's next? We can do region next. And we're just gonna auto size all of this stuff. As it looks all funky at this point. So this one will be region. So we'll go down to the metadata and change that to region. And we're gonna use our regions folder. Look at that. Already got pre-made images here. And I don't think that I want any fallbacks for these. So I'm going to paste the next one. We'll call it genre. And we'll switch out to the first genre one. And we'll go to genres. And wow, this one doesn't even have a genre. Let's go to the next one. And we'll call it rating. And we'll switch this to, I believe he calls it ESRB. And we'll go to our ratings folder. There's the rating. It's just that the genre is taking up so much space. Okay, we'll keep going. What else did I bring over? I brought over the favorites. I brought over completed, broken. I feel like I'm missing one more that I'd like to have. And that is play mode. There we go. So it looks like this theme uses the old way of play mode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust that so that I just have a 1. I've got a fallback image. I've got a 2. I've got a 3. A 4. What else do I have? And an 8. And if I had other numbers, I'd put them here too. And we're going to delete the rest of them. You're sort of seeing the old way. And instead of using playback or play mode, we're going to use something called max players. So down here, there should be a maximum players. And we're going to use that max player folder. Okay, so let's save this out and see what it looks like. There we go. So far, so good. Got some spacing issues to do. I might make it a bit smaller. And Tom, how you doing? You recently began your LaunchBox journey, and you couldn't be happier with what you've built? Oh, that's awesome. What have you built? That'd be interesting to know. And are there just basic tutorials to teach you from scratch? There are not basic tutorials. So if you're talking about this program, which is a huge program that our friend Dave has created for us, it is on the forums. Do I have tutorials for what I've built? What do you mean, what I've built? Like one of my themes that I've built? Dave does rule. He has a YouTube channel and I never plug it. And I am going to plug it. If you guys don't know Dave, go to his channel and follow him. He releases videos every few weeks about if you're wanting to follow the development of the community theme creator. Go give him go subscribe to his channel, and then you'll learn a little bit about his thought process and how he goes around and building different things for us. An example is that I don't know if anybody's noticed this little tiny controller down here that just randomly appeared. Well, he actually built that controller completely using code. That is XAML code controller. Using shapes and colors and all that good stuff, and he spent a long time just trying to perfect this little controller, and now that he has it, he can use it for different things. In a future build, we'll be able to use it, click on it, it'll become bigger, and then you can use the directional controls to test out your theme with. And so let's make this a little more what I was thinking it would be. There we go. So you know what? It's really only the controller that I don't like. Let's make this dock the same size as the grid, and then we will make... And sorry, Tom, tutorial on what I've built. Couldn't be happier with LaunchBox. And if you're talking about what I built in theme-wise, I could definitely do that. I don't think I've ever gone through a particular theme, although I am slowly doing that with Coverbox and showing people how to build that since I'm redoing it from scratch. But I would say if anybody has any questions about any theme, whether it's mine or not, and saying, how do you accomplish that? That looks really cool. I will show you. Might take me some time. Maybe I don't know how to do it. And I'll learn how to do it and I'll show you. All right, so we're looking at, this is max players. And the size of this is just a little too big for my liking. So I'm gonna make it smaller both sides. Oops. That's better. And now I'm going to worry about the margins on in between everything. So let me just think about how that's going to work. I can do it backwards. So I'm going to put 10 in between each icon. Let's up that to 20. including our playlist custom field. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Then this whole thing here, I want to lower the opacity. Okay, cool. And there's one last thing that I want to do here on this theme, and that's show you guys, hey, if you have more custom graphics, what can you do with them? So if you're wondering, so I'm going to use controllers as an example. Like, what if I wanted to just see the type of controllers that each system had? Well, first you have to have those graphics, which, you know, I have included. I've sort of consolidated graphics that I found and put them in a folder called controllers. And you can see all these different kinds of controllers in here. Not all of them, but a good start. And you can simply reference that controller folder from an image that I'm going to call controllers. And we're going to go here and say, I want you to look for a controller that has the name and where's platform hiding? The name of the platform of the system that you're on. There it is. And look inside of the controllers folder for an image called that. And there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap this nice and big and transparent a little bit down here somewhere. But we'll put this under everything. There we go. So in the background, we'll just have a slight, be like, hey, that looks like the controller. In fact, I can just make this 50%. That's kind of cool. There's just like a random controller down there for the Super Nintendo. So let's save this out and see what we got. Oh, something that I forgot to do was within the max players, let's say there was nothing in somebody's field, so they didn't know what the max player was. Well, I can just say simply use a fallback. Within the max player folder, I have a file called fallback, and that'll just be that controller image that doesn't have any number associated with it. For rating, I've got a folder and I've got a file in there called not rated. So if it's not rated, like this one is, it'll just show the words not rated. And then for genre, I'm not sure if I have a fallback for genre. I do, called fallback. So I'll use that one. And let's see if I can get the trifecta here. And see if I have one called region. Broke. Oh, the world. There you go. I did do it. So I'll just, oh no, unknown region. I do have one. So I'll just use one called unknown region. And so this is one way that you can get around, well, what happens if a user doesn't have an image? We'll just make it fall back to a generic image. So that's one way of doing it. Whereas in the past, I've showed everybody how do you hide a field, so you can just like make it disappear if somebody doesn't have anything inside that field. And that's using visibility conditioning. But this is another good way of doing it, so that there's always is going to be 4 images there, no matter what, even if somebody doesn't have anything. So at least you know that your theme will stay in a sort of good format, no matter what somebody's library looks like. All right, the last thing that I do want to get to is a couple of the other images that I have, which are different kinds. So I didn't want to add them to this area, but I will add them somewhere else. And that's, there's a couple things that I want to do. The first one, we'll do the community star rating. And for this one, we'll do it the same thing as other weeks. We'll call up the community or user rating. So whether a user has one or the other. And I do recommend, if you are using LaunchBox, rate your games and opt into the community star rating, so that your vote actually counts. Your vote matters. And your vote will go against every other LaunchBox user's community star rating. And they'll see an average of everybody's votes. So which is an awesome feature I think everybody needs to use. And we're going to go into the star rating folder, and there's my white images here. I'm going to make it a little transparent. And I'm going to also put it behind this rectangle. Nice. I almost want to put all this behind the rectangle. Nice. Gives it all that same sheen. Okay, so we're going to make this a bit smaller. Doesn't really matter the size. It'll always remain the same size, which is what I love about these stars. And we're going to move it so that it's sort of here. I don't know, something like that. All right, let's do the next one. Copy and paste. What we are going to do is we're going to need a dock again. Or do we? Yeah, let's do a dock. And what we're going to do is we're going to center it over the video. I just made that decision. So here we've got the selected video. I'm going to paste in place. So the layout. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the video, nice and centered. And I'll also put this down here under this rectangle. And we're going to create 3 of these. And I'm going to tell you, sort of like we have these fields called favorites, broken, and completed. And there are ways to bring those fields into Big Box. And this is one way that you can do it. So I've done it different ways in the past. The way that I'm going to do it this time is essentially, you can see here that I've got a favorite folder, and inside of that folder, there's a true and false version of the favorite. And so I go back to broken, and there's a true and false version of broken. I go into completed, and it's the same thing. So as long as that hasn't been touched, it should remain should remain that's how it's going to go into those folders and find that. So let's take a look at favorites. Good. Let's go take a look at, so this one will be favorite. Broken and completed. Actually, I kind of want this one to be broken. Let's do completed second. So completed, we're just looking for the completed metadata and point it to the completed field. For broken, we're going to do the same thing. Right, broken, and we're looking in the broken. Okay, so we're doing great. Now I need to auto size all of this stuff. And center the dock. Cool. And what we'll do here is on either side, I'm just going to add like a 5 margin there. Maybe 10. No matter what, something's going to show there. But what I want to do is I kind of want to make that a bit smaller. And so overlaid on top of the video will be these sort of lightly cast icons that will only really truly highlight and be seen if you have a game that you favorited. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at a game that I favorited, like Final Fantasy III as an example. And you can see that it's a slight. I don't even need to put an opacity on that stuff, do I? To be honest, what probably makes more sense is a slight background, but I'm fine with the way that it is right there. So you can see here, Final Fantasy III, the region is North American once it loads. It is part of my top 100 right there. And I have the, it's a role-playing genre. It's not rated. And it's a 2-player game. That doesn't sound right. But that's what my metadata says, so I better go fix it. Other than that, I think we're basically good. The last thing that I probably want to do is add the controller right on the platform. Why not? You know, so no matter which kind of video or which platform that you're on, you will have. Is it 2-player? Wow. Okay, that probably makes a lot more sense, right, Dr. Suicide? That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever been in a position where I could do that, but that sounds awesome. So we're looking for platform again, the platform title, and we're looking for anything inside of the controllers with the platform. There's Super Nintendo. Again, we'll just size it in whatever way. Center it out. And we'll drop this guy right in the corner here. but underneath everything. There we go, and we'll make it transparent. There we go. So we just have some random controller in the corner. All right, it's getting late, but there is one last thing that is really cool. So what I'll do is I'll quickly create a copy of this guy. And we'll go to, let's say, one of the other systems with the regular size portrait boxes. And we'll look at some cool game like let's look at Castlevania Bloodlines. That's a good game. And you can see here it already changed to the Genesis controller, and you can see it in the background there. And what we'll do is we're going to paste this into our text games view. And there's a reason why I want to focus on this as the last piece of today's stream. And that's because there's a brand new feature that you can try now, and it's coming in the next release of both the Community Theme Creator and in Big Box. And that's the ability to have a completely different game details view than you do have a game text view. Now, for people in the know, those two views are literally the same file. So we have one text games view that does both. It plays double duty. It plays both, like if you're on a text games view, that's the view that you're going to see. And then if you move into like a details view, a game details view, like the view where it says like the play and like the emulators and the flip box and all that stuff there, those two views are the same. And you'll notice every single theme, those two views basically are identical because they are. But we have a brand new feature where we can make both of those views different. And I will show you how. One thing I forgot to do is paste the view I have here. Here it comes. Okay, so I pasted the same exact view as my game details view, except the only difference is that we now have a text menu instead of the wheel view. So in this case, I'll go down to my wheel view and we're going to just style it, just basic styling. I actually don't mind what I have there. Maybe we'll do a different font, something legible but interesting. We can do something thick like this. Isn't that awesome, Mr. Retrolust? And let me show you how that's going to work. We're going to trim this to the character. And you can see this name gets too long. It adds the 3 dots. I don't want it to wrap. And hey, why don't we use some of these fancy color schemes? Interesting. I think I just messed that up a bit. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we got our very blue, but very cool looking text view. And if I went into the games view, this is how my theme would look. But what if I wanted to completely change this to make it look not like this at all? So one way to do this, there are, I think, 2 different ways that you can do this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically we've got these new triggers that allow us to tell when we are in the game details view versus when we're not. And we can use those triggers. Dave, I'm just getting started. And good thing you're here, because I've never tested this. This is going to be my first time live trying to figure out all the new game details trigger stuff. An Arcade Racer, you just got here. I'm regret to inform you that you missed all the snacks and drinks. That happened like 3 hours ago. And we're all pigs here, so. So I haven't actually done anything yet, Dave. So I'm about to show. I mean, let's take one of these elements as an example. Oh, you want me to explain it? Well, let me show one example, and then we can go over there. So one example would be the box art. Let's just look at the box art as an example, and something easy. Can I just go into the visibility conditions and say that it's collapsed when is in-game detail is a value of false, no, true. So this is one way of the, I'm guessing, 2 ways. And Marcus Ice, you've never used LaunchBox. Well, thank you for watching theme creation live stream with to use Big Box. So hopefully stick around. If you have any questions, there's a lot of us here that can answer them for you about LaunchBox in general or Big Box and what exactly I'm doing. That's right. So the video itself, if you collapse a video now, and this is for dedicated theme creators that remember how it is in the old days, if you collapse a video and you've ever wanted to not have the video play until you make it visible, now it does that by default in the theme creator. So you just make your video invisible or collapsed, and that'll pause the video, make it not play. And then as soon as you make it visible, that's when your video will start playing from the beginning. So we now finally have control over when we want to see the video start up. Oh, and it will silence it. Basically, it pauses the video, right? So like there's nothing playing. So there you go. I mean, let me do that. Let me look at the video, because that's probably a better example here. So it's visible, but collapsed when the field is in game detail, when its value is true. So when in game detail, if we're reading it backwards, when it is in game details, collapse it. And so far, so good. Right? Not really have a problem with what's going on yet. So let's do one other thing. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the condition here, now that we have that going. And I will move the box. So here's the second way that you can use this game details thing. You can go here and create animation. And you can see here, entering or exiting game details, or just entering or exiting game details. And Arcade Racer, you've been using LaunchBox and Big Box from day one, and you took a golden tea machine with the 50-inch LCD. That's a sizable LCD there. You mounted your sticks buttons to the pedestal and use it for your LaunchBox. Man, if you have a picture of that, send it to me. Oh no. Looks like my stream dropped there for a second. But yeah, if you have a picture of that Arcade Racer, of your golden tea machine, I'd love to see that. If you post it over on the forums. Okay, so when entering game details, I want to move the box art from its current location to a new location. And this is where you're going to have to remind me, Dave. Is zero. Is this just the x-axis where 0 is the far left? So if I move this to like 100, it would move all the way to the left here. And I can apply an animation to that, right? I can say I want that to last 1.5 seconds and, you know, to ease out of that when it gets to the end of that. It's coordinates, right? So 0x is the far left and 0y is the top of the screen. Ish. So, I mean, let's bring this all the way to like 80, which is close here. And so that's basically saying when in game details, I'm going to move the box art way to the left. And then my wheel, I'm going to place, where should I move the wheel? No, I'm going to move my wheel to maybe like 1000. Let's see where that takes it. And we'll do the same sort of easing out. That's true. I'll have to play around with that. But just as an example for everybody, because my internet seems to be a little iffy right now, and I did take the vaccine this morning and it's getting to that point. So I'm going to 9. Let's do it. You completely got me, Dave. Right? Yeah, my internet's not doing very good, guys. I'm going to quickly do this for Dave. I don't even remember. And it's not pasting. 5, 10, something like that. Let me write this down. I know my stream's not doing very good, and I think my internet's not really doing very good right now. So I'm going to quickly try to get to the end of this, show you guys the example, and then I'll have to cut the stream. We're getting to the end anyway. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do the opposite of what I currently have, from current location to the defined location. I'm going to do the current height to the defined height, current height width to the defined width. So I'm basically saying when you exit the game details, put everything back to where it started. And I should do the same thing for the box art. When you exit, I want to go from its current location to its defined location. The defined location is this location. You see it on the canvas right in front of you. I'm saying when you enter game details, go to the new position I told it to go. When you exit game details, go back to its original defined location. And that should do it. Let's see, what does that look like? Might not look pretty, but I'm sure it'll be fine. There you go, Dave. Nope. Didn't have time to get that for you. Maybe you can freeze frame on that part of the video later. Let's take a look at all the stuff that we didn't save. I assume it's everything, so I might just do something quick for you guys. And I probably know what the problem was. Do you see that? I don't think it's going to allow me in again. We'll have to troubleshoot that, whatever this is. And I mean, while we're going, maybe I can send that to you. It doesn't allow me to copy and paste it. But hey, maybe I can maybe I can just publish this theme and see what we have for you guys already. Then I'll go back and I'll fix up this theme and I'll make sure that it's all working before I post it on the forums. Okay. There it is. And if you guys didn't notice over on the forums, Let me turn up the desktop audio a little bit for you. If you guys didn't know, over on the forums, I did post my video. Oh, really? It complained it couldn't animate the height of the grid. Okay. You'll fix it after work? Thank you so much. We'll have it fixed up and ready to go. Okay, so here you see the logos that I created at the beginning of the stream. And let's see what we got. So let's go into all games here. Okay, there's my theme. We got the Nintendo controller in the side there. We've got, or right on top of my head here, we've got all of the stuff above it. The video, you know, it looks pretty nice. And now let's see what happens. Is it going to crash my big box? Go to the game details. There it is. Yeah, I figured. Can't show it off, but we will have to know that that's basically what will happen, is that things will move around and you'll have a brand new theme, essentially, when you go into the game details view. And you'll see it on the forums, and I'll show that it's working next Thursday. And we'll have a lot more to talk about, because we are eyeing, if there's nothing else that happens with the beta that we currently have on the forums yet right now, we're eyeing a early next week release, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, of all the new features. And one of those features will be the game details pane, which does work, but the theme creator, I mean, it does work in the theme creator, but we'll adjust that sort of height animation, I guess. And then we will also, there's a lot of features, and I mean, they're over on the forums if you want to see them in the beta, but essentially the new big features are that Big Box will be able to play multiple themes or multiple sounds. So if you have the ability to test that, I mean, let me show you guys before I go, for everyone that's still here. What you're going to be able to do next week is have sort of that experience of having multiple sound packs that you can create yourself and add them to Big Box, so that you have different sounds per type. So let me show you what that looks like. If I go to sounds, I can now change that to multi-sound pack. This is just our default. That's going to be something that you can play around with to just showcase what's possible. You can see when I move, every single time you move to a different game, it will play a different sound. And you can control what sounds you want to hear. Same with the back, and same with the select. You can have different sounds going through there as well, and multiple startup sounds. So every time you open up Big Box, you can have a multitude of different sounds. That'd be one of the features. And the second feature coming to LaunchBox is that LaunchBox will finally minimize to the system tray. And you can test both of those features out right now on the forums in our beta, or you can test it right now if you opt into the beta, and you can see what is in the beta thread on the forums. Look at that, Ultima Exodus. Oh. Okay, so let's get out of here. And I think that's where I'm going to end the stream Thank you, everybody, for coming by, stopping by, hanging out, watching me fiddle with a theme, and showcasing some of the stuff that you can do. And hopefully you had a good time. I had a good time. Dave, we'll talk later, and we'll see what we can do with the whole height animation. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. We'll chat next week. Take care, everyone.